Good afternoon, dear friends. We continue our events of Fundraising Forum. It's an annual formal and it is a communicative platform to exchange opinions and share opinions and strengthen professional contacts and discuss problems, trends, and strategies for fundraising to educational institutions. Now, in a discussion format, we will discuss the role of universities in sustainable development of the region, fundraising, and a creative discussion. Zhana Bilaeva will moderate our discussion. Zhana Sergeyevna, you're welcome. The floor is yours. Turn off on your mic, please. Good afternoon, Maxim. Thanks a lot for the introduction. It's true that we have a very interesting subject today, and the expert panel is also an illustration of this. Because when we discussed what is Impact University, we must understand what is hidden under this concept. Impact University is a sustainable university, or is it a leader of social third mission, or is it a flagship university? It's very important to understand what is the impact of the university on the regional development. And today we already have discussed where the impact universities are helped by the ratings and what are their criteria. And we came to the conclusion that impact universities are those universities which developed in accordance with sustainable development goals and which are truly developing the region of their presence, and they raise the potential of the internal and external stakeholders and form not only the reputation of the university as such, but also of all the partners who are involved in the work on educational research, innovative green projects. And of course, today the role of universities has changed significantly. It's not just the house of knowledge, but it's a place where not only our undergraduate students, but also our alumni and partners come to start new projects and to educate professionals together in different areas, and at the same time to form the so-called sustainable mindset, the mentality of those who plan to live not only here and now, but also to leave a positive footprint in the economy for many years to come. Therefore, I will probably begin today with the introduction of our experts, because today we have a wonderful team which knows about reaching the sustainable development goals by the universities a lot and from many sides. Let me start with Magdalena Gata. She is a chief expert of Laboratory of Economics of Education of High School of Economics in St. Petersburg and the representative of the University of Navarra. Magdalena is a great expert in university reputation, and today we will, of course, discuss how sustainable development and impact university could raise their reputation and build it. Svetlana Gerasimova, she probably many of the people in sustainable development industry are acquainted with Svetlana because she is a member of practically all major fora, and of course the relationship between major companies and universities and projects in the area of development, sustainable development mindset. This is probably the chief expertise and competence of Svetlana Gerasimova, who represents Project Office Strategies and Practices for Sustainable Development. She is the head of School of Corporate Social Responsibility in Sustainable Development and lots of others. Laura Carazza is also together with us. She joins us from Italy, University of Turin. There are not many universities universities who for many years are already filing non-financial reports. I know that this is difficult. We too are trying to do that. But since the role of university is changing, university not only gives knowledge, but it also performs self-audit. A university itself is an organization who tends to follow sustainable development. Is it right or not? I hope to learn from Laura today from her presentation. And Professor Ed Overus, who is right now in the Netherlands, he's professor of Zand University. I am always trying to pronounce it correctly because in the Russian language the name is not that obvious. We have made several projects when we wanted to involve a significant number of students from different countries. And of course, the level of involvement of the students is also quite important because we are not always paying attention to what competences they have, whether they are chemists or physicists or economists by their majoring specialty, whether they have some soft competences, in what way the students may understand how they can work in any area, in any sector of real economy, or in some narrow niches. This is also something I wanted to discuss today. I also wanted to ask a question to my dear speakers. First of all, what do you think? What are today the most urgent roles of universities in regional development? And what roles make the universities impact universities? Magdalena, maybe we will start with you. I do hope that you can hear me. I wanted to show several presentation slides while I'm speaking. The slides will be in English. Here we are. First of all, when we are thinking about regional development from the point of view of a university, I do remember that many times we said that third mission of a university is that factor which for a long time was underestimated. But today, and several times before that, I have heard already from the Vice Rector of High School of Economics, Valery Kosamaru, who started talking about that. After the fact when in the High School of Economics, they started to collect all data which they had from different cities where the university is present in order to understand whether the university is really meeting that challenge of social responsibility. And they demonstrated that slide, which I liked a lot, and I believe that it is impossible to to describe briefly what our Minister of Education said in a very short form. Because when we say that a university is a driver of territorial development, we must understand that we are talking not about one university in the city. We are talking about all universities, about the university community in the city. When we are talking about sustainable development and third mission of the university, we are talking about communication between university community and the city and the country. And in that case, it happens that the university is, let me say, not just brain, but brain, hands, and heart of what all professionals inside the university can do. All the professionals who live in that city, in that region, what they can do for themselves and for everyone around them. And it seems to me that those words of the Minister of Education are great starting point for us to start our discussion. Second point is that in reality, the universities should not be closed. They should not be like oysters, like clams. They must be centers of culture from the university into the city, into society, that social life should flow. Yes, it's true. The universities should, in the first place, develop knowledge and develop those students who study the university. This is the first mission. Second mission is research. Yes, naturally, in different areas of knowledge, universities should in some way feed that knowledge. But all that cannot be closed like a clam. We've seen for a long time that all universities started research which affects society in this or that way. It may be in one area, it might be in culture, in any other field. But we always want to understand what we are studying, what we are researching when we teach that to our students. And the third point is what makes a university, the university to exist in 30, 50 years to come, is for it to be interesting for the young people. In that case, we must understand what is in the head, in the brain and heart of our millennials, and those who are right now are still high school students in alpha generation. We should understand what is it that they want for that university, not only to teach them. They may see it everywhere on various websites, on the internet, in their telephones, but this is something which we are living through that right now. It's wonderful that this conference is taking place in Yekaterinburg. I am in St. Petersburg. One of our professors is in Holland, in the Netherlands, in Italy. And what brings us together, that in any way we are a professional community. We are managers, undergraduate students, faculty members. But I wanted to start with the Minister of Education because it seems to me that these are wonderful, wise words which would help us to move forward. We have those aspects. I believe that all universities have volunteers, but volunteers into learning, it is something which not all universities understand. I wanted to talk about that a little bit in greater detail. It may be service loving, corporate volunteering, and so on. Second point is trying to find common problems and interests which may link our interests, university interests, and the interests of the city and all the people who live in that city. This is not only the companies or NGOs. These are even the neighbors who live in the university neighborhoods, because it's very important for me. Is it an educational building? Is it a campus? Or is it just local residents? And the third point is to understand that the university is a living lab of social initiatives. This is a laboratory. This is a think tank. This is a growth point, a growth center of many things which we can translate to society. Then these are the take-home messages. I must understand that to do that, we must have strong leadership. The leaders must understand that this is related to long-term projects of the university. All universities have their own horizons, 3 years ahead, 5 years, 10, 20 years. But they must understand, they must want this to happen in real life. Second point, culture. A university is a center of culture, and this culture is transformed, is given to our students, and they have a seal of what? Of socially responsible person. And then what relationships are we building? I will be talking about University of Navarra, but this is for you to understand. When my students work together on some social projects with their teachers, their communication changes. It is not the relationship student and teacher, but they're becoming colleagues, and that changes all internal networking inside the university. And I am not going about all those lines, but you can later just read them, look at those points. But you must understand what is the horizon of your university? In what way we are looking at this social responsibility, and then we should wish for more. I will be in my blog where we have that, or I'm going to look wider, and then what roots am I going to have? Each university must have roots. Some university may have a big campus only in one place in the city. Some others may be more scattered around. All that should be taken into account and to see what opportunities they have in that sense. Then international vision, because naturally we must be creative and so on. But what international vision any university has, and in what way this networking may be good in a rich country or with a country with greater culture and so on. Then innovating, because today you are doing something, but 1 year ago we did not know at all. No one in the world thought that we will be living in the way we are living now. For that we need innovation. We must be very active to understand what will come next. And also in this sense, we will talk later about reputation. We must know how to discuss it with all our stakeholders. I will wind up my presentation with these slides. I wanted you to understand also that we have those 3 points. What you have in your university, you may have a very attractive project. Every one of us understands what is our mission in the university, but what is your project and whether it is attractive or not. Second point. What is your faculty? What is their professional competence of those who work together with you? How you build this internal culture for them not just to come, teach their class and leave. You must understand whether they are involved in what you are doing. This is very important for us as a university to create this not just a face, but also face, hands, and brain to support our society. And finally, there are a lot of people with whom you are in friendly relations who are also helping you. You are your partners who help you to work on those projects which you wanted to develop. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Magdalena. Am I right that if you smile, then everything lightens up and everything starts with friendship? Indeed, friendship between teaching staff and students entails sustainable projects, and impact is about friendship and also storytelling, probably. Where could we see whether someone measures the level of friendship and storytelling at universities from these positions, from this perspective? I haven't seen yet. Concerning reputation amongst the students, and there are several issues connected to these things, what relationships there are between staff, etc. And it would be good to ask them, have you seen any of them smile, whatever? I think, yes, this should be one. It would be one of the conclusions of our session. Yes, building a reputation for the university, it's a lot of money, but also it's an administrative machine. Sometimes small project teams achieve good results and interesting impacts within a short time. And I'd like to ask Svetlana, what do you think? What projects could a university implement? And what kind of projects? And what needs to be done with companies who come to universities and look for sustainable education or want to be good citizens? And in this relation, what impacts could be developed together with students, and what impacts should involve adult learners? Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for inviting me. Our role is as follows. Now we enter university, then we leave universities. We collaborate with business schools, being part of them, and then go back. So whatever we've done has focused around the business center, which collaborates with university, schools, and companies. And in this triangle, it's convenient to operate. This improves our mobility and enables us to develop new themes, accumulate new competences and skills based on the business schools and companies and universities that we work with. Of course, the theme of sustainable development is new. At least for the Russian space, and a lot of managers, and we keep asking universities whether they've heard about sustainable development goals. And I often say that professionals do know about these things, but the percentage of immersion from 70 to 100% is available in professional audiences, but amongst managers, it's not much, from 3 to 5%. And we think that the first role should belong to enlightenment, just conveying education about things that there's such an agenda, and there's something that needs to be done about this. But if you have a look at the programs of sustainable development and what needs they entail, then at the first level, this is all associated with the fact that our companies, big ones, have learned. Medium ones also are approaching it. It's the theme of corporate social responsibility and everything that revolves around it and is related to business reputation. I would dare to state that there are good practices that could be demonstrated abroad internationally. There's something that we could discuss, and good developments in terms for measurement, but also involving this content into university practices for teaching and learning. But then comes the second phase, and this is where there are gaps. So there's integration of sustainable development into business processes and company strategic management. And there are not so many good examples here, just a few of them who have made progress in terms of sustainable development and development goals. I should say that there have been several federal contests, and companies have started development policies for sustainable development. And I should say this is a breakthrough. We didn't have anything like this. Documents have appeared, what businesses understand by this, where they are moving to. And this is the first stage of integration for them. At least they have started understanding what they should do about this. This integration about the specific things, but also finance strategies, risk management, HR, and have all the functionalities, because this is where specific knowledge, the interface is needed. Then comes the third phase, that of innovations. those who approach sustainable development from in terms of innovation, creating new niches, new products, new breakthrough, or prognostic things that do not exist, but they need to be created in order for those cyclic models to be available, or green economies. How they need to be approached in terms of funding, innovations, or new developments, completely new developments and new models. There are a few people who work at this level, but if we impose everything on this on universities and their role, then exchange of experiences at the first level, then preparation of international standards-oriented practices and professionals who are able to use these tools at the second level. And third level, this is about changing the mentality. And changing the thinking paradigm is one of these objectives, a complex one. We need managers who can think in these three paradigms: economics, ecology, and social issues, for them to find solutions, whatever functionalities they belong to, whatever background they may have. This is a complicated thing. It's difficult for companies as well to involve all professionals in sustainable development. It's not just one girl, one member of staff dealing with these issues somewhere in her office, but it should be a systemic work for the entire company. If we approach sustainable development like this, then it would be a complex model, which is it's very rare that someone has reached the top. I would support Magdalena about collaboration, that university should be a center of collaboration, a center creating a blend of exchange of ideas, interactions. Now, I had an experience in France. I was brought to a business school. We looked at what they did, and in the evening, we attended a very important event where there were company CEOs, but also leading professors from the business school and officials. And actually, this kind of practice is traditional for them. And if we have a look at who is involved in the achievement of SDGs, we can see that it's business, public officials, scientists, because they are needed, NGOs, mass media, individuals, citizens, and activists who are involved in this agenda. And of course, collaboration centers. This is another function for universities, a center of meanings, a center of thinkings for such communications. I've got a presentation too. I'm not sure whether it would be relevant to show it. Perhaps I should just tell you about it. As for the centers of excellence and centers of competence, it is not easy to set up a center of excellence at the university. For example, at Mirbis, we started tackling this theme from back in 2012. We set up a center of excellence with people, specialists, expertise, and they started working. And it involved international accreditations in order to ensure that such programs are available. We also are involved in Prime and in the global initiative or global leadership. This is where we are involved in, where we can exchange experiences, who we can invite to us. And then in terms of connections between companies and universities, it's interesting. We prepared a number of forums where a huge amount of information is generalized between different sectors. We held a Russian Dutch forum of exchange of experiences. It should be said that these things are helpful, but it's not always that the university can give anything to business. And in terms of sustainable goals and approaching them, they are ahead of the public sector, but also universities. And they know a lot more at the practical level. And this is where they can teach the universities. That is why universities are anxious to invite CEOs, top managers who lead transformations in their companies. Large-scale transformations are going on, but the universities are not prepared. They do not have staff who involve businesses in these things, include taking into sectoral interests, taking into account international standards, and providing consultancy to such projects. There are very few teaching staff like this, very few professors like this. And these are very easy things to set up such centers for developing interaction between business and universities. This is a very big challenge. It is multi-sectoral, a complex one. It requires a balanced approach and actions and development of new learning teaching projects and programs, consultancy, and entities who could develop these things. And this triumvirate that I'd like to note. We are now preparing a week of sustainable development. Actually, there's one NGO who held a conference on sustainable development. They summarized the experiences of universities, businesses, and NGOs and international programs. And yeah, we are trying, based on this, to try and understand which programs are available in Russia. Going back to what I started with. Actually, we are just starting to obtain managers who understand corporate social responsibilities. And I do hope that very soon such courses will appear in sustainable development, but this doesn't cancel the question. Who is going to teach these programs and what paradigms they are going to be based on? I think all this topic entails company management and changes and university management, and these new challenges and new problems, they are important, and you are asking who is going to measure these. I should say these are just unique cases, and this is where we should hear colleagues who produce reports, university reports. We've tried to approach this problem several times, but we haven't been able to provide anything like this. I'd like to thank you for this conference. I think the role of the university is very important, but considering impact as a factor of influence on the society and businesses as a meaning-generating thing, then it's important for the university. But at the moment, the universities are just trying to catch up. Would like to ensure that over this decade of challenges, the universities will start doing this leading role, will start setting trends and propose to businesses new developments, theoretical developments, because it's the job of the universities to look at the businesses not in terms of individual practices, but in terms of conceptual considerations. And this is what they need. It's research and analytics, and this is where I'd like to support Magdalena. Thank you, and I'm with you. I'm still with you. Thank you, Svetlana, for this enlarged presentation. And whilst we were talking, we've received questions, and it's 2 questions. And perhaps you have already answered whether international best practices are applicable to Russian universities. And this is where you mentioned international accreditations and our accreditations, FMDs, etc. I should make a reservation, of course, borrowing directly as any tool, practice. Take it and apply it here. It's impossible. And this is perhaps there's a possible role for the university and for university staff, how it should be approached. Perhaps we could take best practices, very advanced ones, but then they need to be adapted. How you could adjust a nice dress to the human figure, and we need to consider what's useful, what's not adaptable, what's not applicable. All regions are unique, and this is where universities could have an interesting role in how it can be done. Of course, this is where, of course, universities need to do a lot of work to get adapted to these things. Yes, of course, at the Euro Federal University, we are creating a map of impact universities where we evaluate the level of collaborations, the level of interaction and initiatives from universities, and how they relate with businesses. And this map should help us what global practices are applicable here and which local practice we could use. That is why exchange of experiences here is key. Before giving the floor to Laura Karatza, who is going to describe what they've done, because I know that the University of Turin is the first one in Italy who published their first report about several years ago, perhaps about 5 years ago. And in parallel, Laura, when talking, please think about one more question. Should the impact universities draw other universities with them along? Are the impact universities drivers, or whether they are crowned, so to say, universities, although we shouldn't use the word crowd, which is a forbidden word in the current context. Laura, over to you. Turn on the microphone, please.
Okay, so thank you, Gianna, for having invited me today. It's such a pleasure to bring our experience from Italy. The University of Turin is placed in the northern part of Italy, and we are one of the most ancient university in Turin as well. So you can in Turin, in Italy as well. I mean, we have been founded in the 14th century, so we have more than 600 history. And as an institution, we collect more than 83,000 people involved as a student and 3,000 personnel involved every day. So we are one of the largest company. If you want to have this parallelism with a company, we are one of the largest company in our city. I was thinking, listening to the previous speaker, that if I had this talk before last year, maybe I would be involved to talk about different things, but the reality is that today we have been completely shaken and disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's not to make a repetition, it's not to emphasize with a rhetoric, but I want to bring you our experience in terms of the contribution of the University of Turin during the COVID-19 outbreak. I will share you my presentation about this, especially because we have revised our strong mission, third mission, toward a more strong and tight path. For instance, you have to think that at the very beginning, we know also from literature, from theory, that we had this triple helix model, Leidersdorf. We have to break down silos. We have to break down the traditional ossification of university that Magdalena refers also before. And I completely agree with her when we say that we need a multi-stakeholder management program when we want to create value for our regional development. During our COVID-19 pandemic, we have been called to the army, to take an army to tackle what we started living. For instance, if you can think that 1 out of 2 medical checks in our region have been made by personnel hired by the University of Turin or representing University of Turin, that means that we have called all the department to have an active action towards to tackle, to deal with COVID-19 outbreak. For instance, we provide psychological services to citizens and medical staff absolutely for free, involving the psychological department, psych department. Or another way, we involve our med tech and chemistry department to provide serological tests. Or we, unfortunately, but it's also a way to gain experience, we involved medical students last year, medical students in the front line of the healthcare department discussing their final thesis. During that part, so such a part of their training, they spent hours inside medical department strictly involved in COVID-19 with COVID-19 patients. They have been involved in providing telehealth for all the citizens living in our region. Or on another way, we have created, and this is more inherent what we can think about the traditional third mission of university. We have created partnership with companies and startups to provide breathing pumps and masks, and to develop such a type of new tools that we required, and hospital required more than before, of course. But on the other side, if you think about social science and humanities department, they have been involved as well. For instance, in developing policies and strategies to manage the lockdown. We are still in the lockdown nowadays. So they have decided which are the regulations that schools from kindergarten to university have to respect, and companies and public transportation systems as well. These are examples that traditionally we would like to place under the label of public service, the third mission. That is something more, because it's not just a transactional approach, as we said before, when we want to create a sort of economic intent. It's something that goes beyond. It's a sort of transformational. So it's not just a transaction. I do something for something else. Absolutely no. We are going to transform our student, but transforms our university. That's why I think that is absolutely interesting what Magdalena said before about the role of communication into that. As Jana said, I'm the editor of the sustainable reporting. And what is interesting is that we were wondering if we have to modify, if we have to change part of our sustainability reporting this year, because we cannot communicate that we are sustainable because we shut down our operation. This could be absolutely cynical, if you want to say. But what we have done are these type of action. These are concrete action without any type of compensation. That go beyond services. It's go beyond third mission. It's something different, something that maybe we don't have a theoretical paradigm yet. But we have to develop a new one concrete that is more, yes, untouchable ellipses. It could be narrow, but adaptable. Magdalena and Svetlana mentioned different type of stakeholders involved, and we perceived all this, the importance of all these stakeholders during this period, more than before. As I said before, we are now approaching the 7th year of our sustainability reporting, and as a document and as a process, I can say and I can affirm that we are reporting the impact, the majority of impact in terms of economic, social, and environmental impact in a quite a systemic way. I mean that nowadays also people working in university and the staff, the administrative staff that develop the proper knowledge, the proper abilities and competencies to understand the value of the message that we deliver through this document. And also they are truly committed in reaching that and retrieve information. While at the very beginning, that was a very hard process because people were not able to deal with a new document. Maybe they were not so engaged in the process. Today is easier because we have a message to communicate. For instance, today we have to communicate what we have done in the last month for the COVID-19. We use this international standard for sustainability reporting, that is a global reporting initiative standard, and we are going to adopt it and to adapt it to the university context because you know that is not absolutely conceived for university but for large multinational companies, so we have to make adaptation. As an example of the adaptation, what we do is to use SDGs as the fil rouge that we use to narrate what we are gonna do and how we are becoming more sustainable year and year before, from the year before to the next one. On the left-hand side, you can find what are our material topics. So what is the content of the sustainability report and how the content of the sustainability report is going to match the SDGs. As you can see, we talk about learning and teaching activities, we talk about research, we talk about third mission, both in terms of knowledge transfer, but also about public engagement and healthcare services, because we have this university hospital, as I said before. But it's something also related to managing museums and botanical garden that we have as a university, and especially how these three missions match together with SDGs specifically. We use also to account, to narrate what we adopt in terms of policies and regulation. We have created an entire department from 2 years from now. And now more than 40 people working, not full time, but sometimes they work with the University of Turin Green Office. So we have structure, we have identified proper organizational structure dealing with this kind of issue. But what is important in terms of what we have done, what we still have to do, is that we are retrieving the amount. For instance, we have more than 30,000 different subjects offered. So in order to understand which kind of teaching opportunities we offer to our students, we have to do some analysis. And for instance, we are adopting a recursive algorithm to analyze through the keywords which kind of courses provide insights that are referred to the SDGs directly or indirectly. So we can compose a guide for if you want to extend your expertise in terms of sustainable development, which are the courses that are more related to one specific subject or another. We do the same thing about research project and third mission activities in terms of societal outreach. We are working, so we are not in the front line, but we are still working on how to match SDGs with our performance measurement and how to connect the performance measurement, the KPI of the different organizational department to the SDGs, while the sustainability reporting activities is now a sort of autonomous entity. We are struggling with the problem of international standards, especially international rating, because the rating like green metric are not completely adaptable by every university. As Magdalena say, we have campus-oriented university while we are a city campus. So we have 120 buildings. So it's not normal to identify one place, another place. The entire cities is in a way or in another involved by our university works. I completely agree with the role of university at Living Lab. I do that in my personal courses. For instance, I run a course of risk management and green business strategy. And during this course, my students carry out projects with local neighborhood companies, also small companies and small shops. But this tight contact with the economic reality that we are living is going to develop in them a sort of transformation as a leader in the transition to be sustainable and to drive sustainable development, also in local communities, very small local communities. And I think that students need to be inspired, to get inspired by us as a teachers, professor, but also by looking around themselves and understanding which kind of university I'm living in, and I'm living today, and I will live there in the next 3-5 years. So it's absolutely important for them also to see that not only we deliver a message, but we are interpreting and living that message, that we are sustainable, not just that we want to become. And so that's it. There are many examples, but I think that we can discuss later.
Спасибо большое, Лаура, за такой отличный, прекрасный.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Each time when I remember, yes, as you know, I visit the University of Turin each year to deliver lectures, but when I visited the rector's palace, it was a separate story. 14th or 15th century building, and preserving this building and maintaining it in the current conditions should be a separate of this non-financial report. Laura, I've got a question.
Yeah, of course.
It is clear that the university was not immediately prepared to publish a non-financial report. Where was resistance, the level of students, management, or students? Who has it been easier to work with over these years of preparing such reports?
Okay, I think that one
Я
of the
думаю, что
elements,
один из элементов,
yes, one of the first elements that we need is to have a governance and top management truly committed to do that kind of process, to start that kind of process and believe in that. The type of resistance come practically from the personal and administrative staff, because they have been they have such an intensive workload every day. So you come there in that office asking something completely new, sometimes asking them for 2 times, 3 times the same data for different purposes. One of the interesting comments of our rector was that the university in Italy is one of the most controlled entity in Italy. We have to provide 5 times different financial statements during the year, so from provisional, budget, ex post, and so we are over communicating. Unfortunately, we communicate so much that the stakeholders, the common stakeholders, absolutely don't care about which kind of information we produce, because we produce so many information, but in the wrong way. So that's why we need, and we have started to bet on this project of sustainability report to deliver the right information to the external stakeholder in a comprehensible way, because the many information and bureaucracy item that we have in our report cannot be disclosed and cannot be understood properly by our family students, by the common people living in Turin. And also the information are not so easy to be retrieved. So we have to take care about the form, the design, the way we deliver the message, other than the message that we deliver, of course.
Да, спасибо. Ну, бюрократия, как обычно, вносит коррективы.
Thank you. Of course, bureaucracy always makes adjustments to our brilliant strategic plans. Nevertheless, in parallel, I've got a question. Would the logic of impact universities reflected in the new program of university academic leadership? This program is getting finalized in Russia for developing universities. Would like to believe that, yes, because we've spoken with a lot of universities in Russia. A lot of times we discussed with them the understanding of the third mission of the universities. Also at the Russia Country of Opportunities Forum, we discussed these issues, and our university entered the top universities were promoting the role of impact universities. I think it would be useful to combine all these experiences with your experiences, and perhaps we could try and to introduce these things at universities in a less formal way. And now I'd like to ask Professor Ed Overs, which projects could help teaching staff and students change their mentality, mindset, and get to believe that the sustainability of impact universities could be one of the foundations of our future growth. How could we correctly teach students so that students of any professionalism, of any specialty could have competences for working in companies of the future, when these companies come to the universities and share their experiences, and the universities would start publishing reports so that it could become the DNA of new universities?
Okay, thank you. I try to capture all your questions in one talk. Well, I think the most important thing for universities is to understand that they are just part of society, so they should step outside, not being a closed kind of environment, but to realize that they are open. Because if I see, for example, in our region, I'm not from the western part of the Netherlands, so we are faced with a brain drain, and we see students going away and never come back, and that's a problem. And one way we try to prevent that from happening is setting up a new economic ecosphere in the region, and that's actually by cooperating, and that's actually the centers I think Svetlana was mentioning as well, is where universities start cooperating with companies, which means students are going to work with companies, but also with government. So we set up a triangle, basically, and we set up special campuses, so not on the university campus, but outside, where university students and staff, of course, as well as businesses and government meet, and there's an entrepreneurial spirit. In order to make that happen, I would like to touch on what Magdalena was saying, is that it needs a different mindset also from university and university staff. Students often are very engaged when they can work with companies. They like to, they feel inspired, but they feel hindered by how the university is. It's grading them, it's supervising them. So that definitely needs a mindset. But the mindset also needs to be for university to start cooperating. You asked me about what kind of projects could universities, for example, do to train those students in that sense. Last year, we set up a management game, and there we invited students from different universities to collaborate, and to collaborate in our case across national teams. So basically, they had to work together on a real business management game. And they needed to start practicing. The good thing about this one, it was not just like European students who are basically similar mindset, but we took on students from different continents, which for a lot of students were really the eye opener, but also for the staff, because of course the student had to cooperate with each other and get better understanding of how people in different parts of the world were thinking about. But we also, as staff, of course, needed to start comparing how we were teaching. So also from that perspective, it's really opening up. So the point I wanted to make is that if we, as universities, want to have this sustainable impact on the region, we have to step outside. We have to step outside, but also for teaching staff, outside of our comfort zone. So we were talking about friendship and building relations with the students. That means that we as staff also need to be comfortable when being vulnerable. That we're not the ones who know everything and the students just touch into us, but that we, to some extent, are also students of life, of sustainability, of whatever is happening, and that we would help the students, but the students also help us to start exploring that one. But that also needs a different mindset from us. So my message would be, if the university wants to be have a more sustainable role in regional development, it means open up for collaboration with companies, open up for collaboration with government, open up for collaboration also with the other universities, but maybe most important, start also opening up for collaborating with students. And that's maybe it's not the obvious one, but we did several of these kind of projects, and to tell you the truth, the results are really amazing, both on motivation level but also on results level. So that would be, I think, my answer to your question. At least I hope. I don't know if this answers your question, but feel free to ask.
Конечно, я думаю, что это очень сложно ответить на такие глобальные.
I think it is very difficult to answer such global questions because we want to achieve by 2030 100% sustainable development so that all businesses, universities and stakeholders could immerse in this and could work in a different mental dimension mindset. But we cannot believe that would be able to readjust within such a short period of time. But small steps could be taken. What could these small steps be? We have very little time, and I suggest that each speaker should say just a couple of sentences on universities, whether they should draw someone behind them, but that they should become a basis for development. I should recall our autumn school, which is called Sustainable Development of Business. It takes place every year. A lot of international students come to the University of Ekaterinburg, and they leave as university ambassadors, but they go back home as business ambassadors, because within the framework of this autumn school, they visit companies and they ask businessmen questions in what way they do sustainable development, whether it's a part of their strategies. And a lot of companies after the autumn school realized they needed to take a more active part in these processes after the students' visits. I think it's a very good driver, both for businesses and the university, to meet these criteria. Colleagues, I think we're having a very interesting discussion with different experiences presented, and I suggest that within the remaining 8 minutes, I suggest that you say just a couple of sentences each on this issue. Magdalena.
У вас выключен микрофон. Ну, я думаю, что у нас осталось 8 минут, поэтому на всех, да.
Да, нет, я...
Yes. I will be very quick because it seems to me that what those two rectors say is very interesting. And the second one says that you should come down from the ivory tower. I only wanted to say what 1.5 minutes that I have, and this is an example of Navarra University in Spain. In ratings, in various ratings, it has different positions, but beginning from 2013, we started that project. The name of the project is Tantata. This is a bank of joint time. We said small steps. Not only students may be involved in that, but all of us as a community of professionals, faculty, employees, all together we would create those links which we mentioned before. And finally, service learning. I know that this is not as well developed in Russia. 1.5 years ago, when I gave an interview, I talked about that, and people looked and said, it's interesting, but it's so far away. And now we are beginning to hear about them. And here everything is combined, the research and that desire of every university to give to society what they have, to share their best values. This is just one example. I believe it would be interesting to look at it. One dissertation or graduation project may become very useful for a city, a region, or the country. And my final slide. Why I wanted to show that? Because many times we do not see what we have around us. And Navarra University, for several years, I believe 3 years in succession, has been receiving that Green Flag Award. You see here what it looks, what the campus looks. It's 113 hectares. But what's important here that everyone is taking care about the university, not only this team, but the whole university is green university. And what Laura said, that you have many buildings, so we too have many buildings in different cities. Ural State University has this huge building, wonderful building, which gives a vista on the Central Avenue. In fact, every university might have a possibility to develop their territory. I wanted to wind up with that, but I wanted to show that this, in fact, is the easy way to take care of the city in which the university is located.
Well, now I want to visit university as soon as we are able to travel. Briefly, what you mentioned with Magdalena, I support this, I agree. These are the most creative teaching staff, passionate staff who change their courses, include a lot of interesting things. I'd like to have a community of teaching staff, associations, those who teach sustainable development at the universities. They are very active, interested people. They collaborate a lot and can do a lot of things for companies, as for schools, such autumn schools. These are very interesting things. These are concentrated events with a lot of methods and techniques and opportunities for communication. This is a very interesting, important story. Of course, collaboration is with business and responding to their needs and providing them with interesting information. It's also important. I like the theme of young people. It changes the corporate sector, and they cannot go away. And those who are born after the year 2000, they've come to companies. They're changing the world. They collaborate with managers. They're changing the corporate cultures, how offices look, how dress codes are changed. And companies set up also young boards of directors of young people. This is very wise, because these young people are going to be their staff, workers, and employees. I mentioned collaboration between teaching staff. I think a university can become a platform for small projects, for NGOs, because often what they can do is a treasure of educational programs, but also tools they can operate. And I would support Magdalena about Green Campus. When a university can show by all available means that they can teach these things, and the very environment enables the university to do this, it's very great. Interdisciplinary approach, interdisciplinary projects, it's very great. So thank you, good luck. Laura and Ed, we've got just 4 minutes before our session comes to an end. But anyway, I'd like to give the floor to you, 2 minutes each. I'm holding the heart of the Federal University here in order to show you the time.
I will be truly synthetic. I absolutely agree what we
Я полностью согласна.
What we are saying today.
Что было сказано сегодня.
For instance, tomorrow we will ask our climate, and during the weekend we will ask another hackathon.
У нас вот на этой неделе будет еще один хакатон по реализации виртуальных решений в нашем здании. Это означает, что мы хотели бы преобразовать наш паркинг за университетом
horticulture project. So we have to
общественный садовый
involve
проект,
different stakeholders,
с тем, чтобы мы могли привлечь различных стейкхолдеров, ассоциаций, студентов, сообщества, населения в этот проект. Еще это хороший проект. Еще один проект, который можно привести здесь. У нас есть здание в центре города. Это агора, это своего рода площадь, где люди могут общаться. Это внутри университета. И здесь есть рыночек, также внутри университета. И то есть граждане могут прийти сюда, и они фактически пойдут в университет. Это один из способов возродить здание и открыть его сообщество. Это один из проектов. Я думаю, что все направлено на трансформацию нашего сообщества, нашего университета и наших студентов. Okay, yes, great, yes.
Okay, then I will try to make up some time. Actually, my closing words would be quite easy. Big steps start small. So in times of getting this sustainable change we done, it starts with start building a personal relation with colleagues, with students, with people from companies. Start reaching out to them, be curious what they are doing, and start setting up projects. And even if it's just a small project, as I said, a small project will grow and will create a big change. So reach out, start building relations, because that's where it all starts in the end. Be curious, be open, and we will get there. We all will. That's my 2 minutes.
Спасибо большое. Это было даже 1,5, но очень емко.
Thank you very much. It was 1.5 minutes, but it was very compact. Okay, colleagues, there have been a lot of comments and presentations. I think there are very useful things that we can take and use at universities and encourage the universities and businesses so that they could become impact collaborations and impact universities. So see you in the future in our future impact university projects. This is our Federal University's heart.